Super excited. I have another Glarry here. This is an $89 guitar, and it's a HSH configuration, so it's a hum single hum model. Now, about a month ago, I did a review on my $79 Glarry, which was a 3 single coil model. So I'm super excited about this one because it's got basically a humbucker. So the really cool thing about this is we're going to not only do a review, but we're going to do a really cool sound demo, something probably heavy. And then in my next vid, we're going to actually mod this guitar. So we're going to full out, just replace bits and kind of try to soup it up just a little bit. So let's get started. It did come damaged in shipping. So I can see right through the cardboard into the styrofoam. So I'm hoping everything's cool. It's always cool to unbox a guitar. I said this last time when I was unboxing the $79 Glarry. It doesn't matter how much a guitar costs. It's always super exciting to unbox one. It's like Christmas morning. So Glarry does ship with the gig bag, and it's really just more of a guitar cover than a gig bag because there's no padding in there. So the next thing we have is the little goodie bag. So it does come with a guitar cable, and it has the trim arm in here, the truss rod adjustment wrench, and then a guitar pick, and then the tiny little adjustment wrench for the saddle heights. And then it does come with a guitar strap. Wow. Alrighty. Jeez Louise. Holy smokes. Like really pretty. So let's just immediately start talking about like some of these differences between the last model I got. And the first one is, clearly you can see the fretboard is not maple. So this is, I'm not really sure, I'll look at the specs later. And then it's got the high gloss enameled headstock to match the body cover. So that's an added little feature now. So you don't just have a plain maple neck with a maple board and a maple headstock. You have like these really cool matching headstock with body. And then of course we talked about the hum single hum. So hum single hum still has a 5-way switch, standard Strat configuration on the knobs, and you have your standard jack plate, and we have the standard kind of trim unit going on there. Get your standard neck plate and your plastic trim cover, and then the tuners that it comes with. And I don't have any problems with these tuners. So again, I've been using the Glarry single model for about a year, and I don't have any tuning issues. What I did do on the last Glarry was replace the string trees and replace the nut. I'm not going to do that for this first sound demo and this review. I'm going to keep all this original, and it won't be till the next video that we swap those things out. The first thing we'll do is probably do a really quick setup. So I'm not going to do a real setup, right? I just want to get the string height to the right height, and I want to get the truss rod adjusted perfectly. So as long as those two things are okay, then we're going to just do the sound demo. We'll hear this as is. And during that sound demo, we might find some high or low spots in the frets, but I don't plan on doing a fret job on this guitar. I didn't on my last Glarry. And the reason is really about kind of time and effort and level of effort. So if I were to like do a fret job for someone, the price I would charge that someone is worth more than this entire guitar. So I don't plan on doing any type of real fret job. What I will do is some spot leveling. So I do have, so I'm lucky enough to have a fret kisser from Stu Mac. What this tool is going to let me do is leave the strings on while the guitar is under tension. I can find those high spots, and then I can kind of file them down without taking the strings off. And that's pretty much as far as I'm going to go. And I think eventually when I do take the strings off, I'll polish those high spots after they've been ground down, but I don't plan on doing any type of major work on it. So we're going to do a quick setup here. And the good news is all the tools you need are already in the little bag that comes with a guitar. And we're going to need the truss rod wrench and the saddle height wrench. And I'm also going to take out this pick. So as a luthier, I have the fancy gauge, right? So this little fancy gauge is a digital meter, and it lets me essentially measure how far off the string is from the fret. And this is what I use on my normal builds to kind of set everything up. But because this is an $89 guitar, we don't need to be this fancy. All we're going to do is we're going to use a pick. So you could technically use a feeler gauge and throw a feeler gauge in there to kind of determine how high the string is up the fret. But in a pinch, you could just use a pick. And if you know how thick your pick is, then everything kind of works out. So for example, this is a nice Dunlop pick, and I know it's 1.4 millimeters tall. So I can kind of use that as a feeler gauge, and it gives me sort of an eyeball guesstimate as to how far that string is off the fret. And I can either go as high as 1.4 millimeters, higher than 1.4 millimeters, or lower. And I could just use this as a quick guide really to set this up. And that's all I'm doing. Just a quick eyeball check that literally is going to take me 45 seconds. So I'm just going to use this little pick. I'm not going to use any kind of fancy gauges like I normally would. I'm not going to use feeler gauges. I'm just using the pick. And I know I want to go a little bit lower. And I can just compensate the other strings to match. I know when something's high or low. And I've done this like a billion times, right? And I have quite a guitar collection, so always doing this. And I know exactly where I need to be, and I know by feel. So this is just a really quick way to do this. My A is a little tall. And there you go. That's it. So the next thing I want to do is tighten the truss rod. So for the truss rod, there's a couple things you want to do, and that is to hold down the string at the first fret, and then hold down the string at the 24th fret or 22nd fret, depending on how many frets you have. And then you basically determine how high you are off the middle portion of the fretboard. That middle portion could be the 12th fret, but it could be somewhere anywhere around here. So there are no rules to this. This is personal preference. I like a perfectly flat board. In fact, I use zero relief on all my guitars. Zero relief. So all I'm going to do is crank this truss rod, and I'm going to crank it towards me, like if you're holding the guitar in your lap. So this way, I'm going to remove any relief from this neck. Small turns. So already I can tell that this pickup is way too low, so I'm just going to go ahead and lift it up. And I just do this via experience. I don't measure anything at this point. I just don't want them to touch, obviously, but I don't want it to be too close, not too far away. And then this bridge pickup also is low, but let's go ahead and take the wrapper off first. Now we will be taking the pickguard off to take a peek inside. So I got it dialed in. I'm not going to worry about intonation this moment. I can do that off camera. All right, so I did find a high spot on the frets on the 16th fret and on the 5th fret. And so all I did was use the fret kisser, and I just kind of ground that high spot. And then again, just a really quick high grit paper to take the scratches off, and then a 3000 grit paper to polish it. And that's it. That's as much of a fret job we're going to do. And it was only on the section for the high E, so all the rest of the frets are fine and leveled. There was just two high spots on the 16th and the 5th fret. Took care of those. And then getting to the frets, you can see these Glarrys come with a really great level and crown. So the entire board's leveled, and they're crowned. So you can see how the crowning file left that little strip there in the middle. So this is a perfectly rounded over fret. The only thing that they don't do is they don't polish them out. This one's kind of polished. You can see the mirror finish there on the side. See how the reflection. This is actually better than my other Glarry. So these have like a slight polish to them. But yeah, look at that. So it's a perfectly rounded fret, leveled board, crowned, and then a light polish. Look at that. You can see the reflection. Now there are some sharp edges here. My first Glarry, the one with the 3 single coils, did not have sharp edges. This one kind of does. You can Feel that right there. See that? See how that's coming off? That's the little burr that's left when you finish your job. And this one too, I could probably take it off. So you would want to use a little file to get rid of those, and right now it's gone. But they're still there. Those burrs are still there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little file and I'm going to just pop these little burrs off on each fret.